and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for the past 40 years as the Money Lady, nationally, internationally, and in local markets. I appreciate your loyalty and your support over the many, many years that I have been involved with public television. I chose that venue because I'd have the freedom to have open conversations without a lot of puffy, feathery dialogue and just get right to it. As many people have said, Michelle Graves is a, what is it called? No chaser, just straight shooter, direct. And I tell people I'm going to stay that way because information today is more powerful than it's ever been. And accurate information can change your life, literally change your life. So today is no exception. For the next hour, commercial free, I will be interviewing a remarkable woman who has been very involved with the U.S. veterans, predominantly African American, but not necessarily. And she is a part of a group that has expanded nationally to over 300 locations, dealing with the challenges of the American veteran. And for those of you that know me and have watched me, you know I have a very special affection for the veteran. Why? My dad was a veteran. All my family members are veterans or active service. And, I'm grateful to them for doing what we aren't willing to do. They sign an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, as well as to protect us, the U.S. citizenry. And I feel in so many cases they get overlooked and passed over, and that is absolutely shameful. But my next guest, Jennifer Porter, is about making changes and having impact on their lives, one military guy or gal at a time. So without further ado, I'm going to start this interview. For those of you that know family members, you want to pay a special attention to this conversation. It can help you. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Michelle.
And how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. What about you, young lady?
I'm glad you're calling me young, Jennifer. Listen, tell my viewers a little bit about yourself.
I was born in Georgia in 1952. I'm 72 years old now. And my mother and father were both born and raised in the same town and got married and moved away. And still don't know why, but they came to Cincinnati, Ohio without having any friends or family. Eventually, they did not stay together, so I was raised by a single divorced mother who had a very strong value in education. So she taught me to read before I started kindergarten. I was the oldest, I am the oldest of 7, and 5 boys, there were 2 girls. And for myself, I had the fortune of going to school from kindergarten through 5th grade in Catholic schools. The level of education was excellent. The opportunities were there for me. However, we had to move out of the downtown Cincinnati area. The highway was coming through.
Oh, yeah.
You remember at the beginning, about 75?
Mm-hmm. Sure do.
So we moved, and I then attended a public school in Walnut Hills. It was Cummins Elementary, which is no longer there. In fact, now the building is Talbot House in Walnut.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Yes. So I attended public school from 6 through 12. Went junior high to Samuel Ock Junior High, which is no longer there. It was right on the corner of Rockdale and Reading Road.
Mm-hmm.
From there, at that time, busing was really coming into form. So, though I lived in Walnut Hills, I was bused to Withrow. And from the 7th through 9th, I was at Samuel Ogg, 10th through graduation at Withrow High School. And at that time, it was a predominantly white school. But busing had come in, and more and more African American students were a part of it. When I finished there, when I graduated, my graduation class was 710 students.
Ooh wee!
And
From Withrow High School.
yes,
Ooh
yeah.
wee.
But I came out in the top 10%. So I was very grateful for the opportunities that I was afforded. So I decided to go to college. I went to the University of Cincinnati here and lived in the dorms for the first 2 years. And majored in social work, finished with the BSW in 1973. And I worked for a year full time, but I had wanderlust. I wanted to travel. I wanted to get out of town and get around the world and see things and experience. You know that youth.
Yes, yes.
One of the opportunities I thought would allow me to do that would be to join the military. And the other thing that was going on socially was the era of ERA, Equal Rights Amendment and movement. And so as a woman, I was beginning to feel, there's not a whole lot closed to me anymore. I can kind of do pretty much what I want to do. So I went to the United States Air Force office recruiter and sat down, talked with him. And usually when you have a bachelor's degree, or if you have a college degree and you go into a military office, the first thing they consider is for you to become an officer. So that was not really afforded to me. They told me that with my degree, my BSW, that they didn't have any openings in that field. So I would have to come back later, or I could go ahead and enlist. So I went ahead and enlisted and took the test and to find out what field I would be qualified to train in. And to my shock, surprise, and happiness, I scored high in electricity, electronics, and mechanics.
Oh, wow.
That is strictly from the Lord. I still today don't understand how that happened. However, I saw it as an opportunity to do something different, to learn to do a skill, to travel, and all of that. I was just real excited about it, so I took it. Left Cincinnati, went to basic training. The only way I can describe basic training is, if there's a hell, I think I had arrived.
You sound like every military person I talk to, including my daughter.
If there's a hell, I was there.
I know they say it's no joke.
Words can't describe it. Words, you just can't really describe it. Once you've been through it, you will never ever forget it. You will take it to your death. So
may I interrupt and ask you?
Sure.
Just as a general question, because I'm a civilian, obviously, having never gone into that particular path of life, what was different about training, basic? They call it basic.
Oh, it's basic.
For every branch of service, everybody has to go through basic.
Correct.
So what made it so different?
When I think about basic training, I think about the attitude. I felt the attitude of, I'm going to break you down and then I'm going to rebuild you.
Whoa.
That seemed to be the concept. That was the feeling that I had. Now, I was 22 when I went in, and though that's young, the other female trainees were in their teens. They were
Oh, wow.
17, 18, 19.
Ooh, wee.
And so they were coming, a lot of them were coming straight from their homes, coming, having graduated from high school and come directly into the military. Well, I was a little bit different. I left home at 16. So by 22, I had a bachelor's degree and I had had my own apartment for a couple more years. I bought my own car, I had a full-time job for a year. So they used to tease me. They used to call me mother.
Okay, okay.
because I was older than most of the young women who were in there.
Mm,
But we were all seeking opportunity. Unfortunately, what the basic training is more akin to brainwashing than anything I could ever
okay.
describe to you.
Well, you know,
Um,
on just on a secular basis, Jennifer, you all have to be brainwashed because you have to give up your lives if required.
yes,
And that's not human. I mean, who wants to die? And
yes.
I know that when you're talking about team building and leadership, they got to break you down, don't they?
Um, as a counselor with many years of experience, I don't think that's necessary. I think there's another way to establish loyalty and faith and support, and I think you can do that in a much more positive manner.
Okay.
We underwent a lot of demeaning language, demeaning behavior, punishments for menial, trivial things. Um, uh, just a lot of, as I think back, a lot of what felt like torment. But the goal was for you to do what you were told to do when you were told to do it by the military,
Okay.
and to remain faithful with your life.
Okay. Okay. So let's move forward. So you went through military. How many years were you in the military?
I was only in the military 2 years. I went from Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, to my training, and I was a power production specialist or power plant operator, but that translates into diesel mechanic in civilian terms.
Okay.
So I went there for training. When I left there, I went to my first permanent base, which was Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico. For me, going from Cincinnati, Ohio, Midwest to the Southwest was a culture shock
I
in
can
so
only
many
imagine.
ways.
I can only imagine.
But I really enjoyed the work and the training that I did. I have to
Okay.
say, my AFSC was 54230, power production specialist, and I really enjoyed the work, and I enjoyed the camaraderie with the other men and women. There were a few women in these non-traditional fields for women, and we were accepted okay.
Really?
As we were going through basic training, we had a little more difficulty with older veterans who had been
Okay.
in the military for a long time, because this was a major transition for everybody,
I
not
can
just for
only,
them,
yeah.
but it was for us. It was a whole new experience all the way around.
So you did your 2 years then.
Well, I got hurt.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay.
why I only did 2 years on my job. It was very physical. It involved a lot of heavy lifting. And none of those things discouraged me. But I had an incident where I hurt myself. I hurt my back.
Ooh.
And it led to several months of running back and forth to sick call because of pain and no diagnosis. And unfortunately, I was pushed to the point that I was concerned that they were going to let me die, to be perfectly frank with you. So I called what was a congressional investigation. And that's a privilege that service persons have to trigger a congressional investigation into a situation.
My
My
goodness.
situation was severe enough, it was granted,
Mm.
and it was necessary. Because of that investigation, they found that I had a condition that required surgery immediately.
Oh my words.
So I was grateful for that opportunity, but I was a little leery about the military because I felt during those months I lost weight, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was, and because I was running back and forth to sick call, it got to be, it was just about every other day.
Oh
I
my
just couldn't, I couldn't
goodness.
do it. But
Okay.
I was always there. I showed up. I did my job while I was there to the best of my ability every day.
But pain
After
is pain.
the,
Pain. Oh my goodness,
yes,
goodness. Pain.
yeah, that kind of pain makes you almost nuts.
Mm.
Um, I would go to sick call, but then when I went to sick call, now I was in fatigues because I was fatigued. So because I worked as a mechanic, and I worked in diesel fuel and oil and all that sort of stuff, and so I had my greens on and green fatigues. And so when I would go to sick call, the attitude was so degrading and so demeaning. The workers who were usually male would say, "Why are you here?" And I'd say, "I'm having a lot of pain in my back, and my chief sent me here to get some help with it." So his thing would be, "Well, are you pregnant, or are you on your period?" And not discreetly and quietly and confidentially, but loud enough that it could be heard in the back of the lobby.
Oh my gosh.
So now I'm not a timid person. I'm a fighter, and but I tell you, you can hurt so bad there is no fight.
I
You
believe you.
just have
Pain is
to say
immobilizing. Yeah.
no, and then I go sit down. So they would take me back, but what they did not do was give me the attention of a physician's assistant, which was like a doctor.
Right.
They gave me a clerk. And so
Oh no.
we had the same conversation every time I went, and it always ended up with some pills. So now at that time, I didn't have, before I went in, I didn't have any reason to take medication. So I wasn't exposed to any. So they would give me medication for pain. And believe me, it got rid of the pain all right. I had driven myself there, and I drove myself back to my shop. And as soon as I came in through the door, my chief came to me and looked at me and he said, "Take her home. Let me see what medication you have." And I would show him and he said, "Take her home now. And don't you come back until tomorrow."
Oh, oh,
I just knew I didn't have pain. Uh,
yeah.
So, but what led to when I finally had the surgery that was required, when it was over, they did not allow me to return to the job I had.
Okay.
And I understood that physically I wasn't able to do the things that I had done in the past.
Okay.
So, of course, we talked about, because I wanted to stay. I was looking at the military as a career.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked to me about other positions. But the positions they offered me was cook and secretary.
Oh no.
So now at this point, my back is feeling a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went off on them and explained to them that if you put me in a field like that, I'm going to sue everybody in here
I know that's right.
because I'm carrying more education than anybody in here has.
Yes.
So they gave me what I wanted. I decided I wanted out. So they revved up the paperwork. So I came out, was discharged 2 years later in '76, and with a disability, 10% disability. which I now,
only 10% with a back injury?
oh yeah, yeah,
Ooh,
which I
we
now know, that's ridiculous.
10%.
Yes, yes. So
Your
I
back
was grateful.
controls everything.
Yes, that just
Okay.
just the 10% going out, honorable discharge. So I went to finish up my master's degree with my GI Bill. I don't even hear that term anymore. And from uh, from there, I decided to stay in New Mexico. So
Okay.
I stayed there in Alamogordo, which is the city that Holloman Air Force Base is in. Um, I had my master degree of counseling and educational psychology from New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And that was a real interesting city because it has a lot of black people who have been there for generations.
My
In Las,
words.
yes, in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Fascinating, fascinating history. Get a chance to look it up.
I will.
Um, I lived and married and stayed in Alamogordo till '87. At
Hmm.
that time, it was time for me to go home. So I went home and divorced my husband. And I was going home because of the divorce,
Okay.
because I was
Okay.
longing to come
Okay.
back to Cincinnati.
Okay.
And got divorced. Um, he was a civilian, my first husband. Within a year, I got married again, but this time I married um, a Vietnam
Oh boy.
combat veteran
Oh boy. You just
with a
dropped into
severe
the fire. Here we
exactly
go.
with a severe
Ew.
case of what we now know is PTSD. They didn't even have a diagnosis for what he had. And a lot of the veterans who came back from Vietnam and Korean War, the kinds of mental health issues they had were just phenomenal, just absolutely um, devastating, just
Can we
blood
talk more about
curdling.
that? Can we talk more
Um,
about the PTSD? Because truthfully, I don't know how anybody that served in combat with Vietnam, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, and I want us to move into that whole conversation and about what you're involved in fast forward. But your husband had, how did you know it was PTSD?
because of my exposure,
Oh, okay.
because I had not been diagnosed. They didn't use the term PTSD. I think they called for women it was depression.
Oh,
That
okay.
was the pretty much the catch-all for for anything that was similar to a mental health issue. But I recognize, well, for example, I'll give you a picture of one night we were in bed and we hadn't been married very long. Uh, all of a sudden, my bed just jerked and it was thrusting up and down. So I woke up abruptly and I just kind of held still and just stayed still because it was him. Just, he was as if he was fighting, like somebody was trying to stab him. He was up and down, and then he jumped up and he ran into the other room. And so I just stayed real still and real quiet. Because I
Yes.
recognized real quick he was combat. He was in combat with somebody.
Well, may I
So,
make an open admission in my first marriage, who was a Vietnam vet,
mhm,
and that's why I had to divorce. This guy
right,
was at
right,
night. It was
right,
kind of like that one rap song, "The Freaks Come Out at Night."
right.
Don't have a combat experience and be a civilian in bed with a person with that condition. He jumped up, he crouched up in the bed. He looked like he had a gun, a long gun, and he was in motion.
Okay.
And I was too, out the bedroom. I was like,
Well,
what the heck is happening here? And nobody knew. I mean,
no.
nobody, yeah, but anyway, that's my 2 cents on
Yes.
that. That's
Yes. And
serious.
I'm sure that happened in many homes.
I know
And
it did.
you just have to do whatever you need to do. I knew to be quiet and to be still.
Okay.
By the grace of God, I knew to do that. So he
Okay.
went to the other room, and then all of a sudden there was no noise and no movement. So I'm not sure if he's still there or what condition he's in. So I went into the room very carefully. He was sitting on the couch with his eyes open, not moving. So I moved in very close. I moved in close to him very gently, and I said, "Come on, let's go to bed." So he got up, and we went back to bed.
Okay.
And I was able to go back to sleep. But the next morning, I said, "Do you feel better this morning?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said,
What?
You didn't sleep well last night." He said, "I slept just fine. What are you talking about? What's the matter with you?"
Oh no.
I
Oh
did
no.
not prolong that conversation. I left it alone.
I know you
But
didn't.
I did start talking to him about mental health. And that's what drove me to get mental health with the military. Because I knew I wouldn't have to pay for one. But I knew one of us or both of us had to get some help.
Okay.
So he didn't appear to be willing. And I went to the local Veterans Administration Medical Center, the VAMC here in Cincinnati, and went to get some help for myself. And things have really changed because that was about as a demeaning an experience as basic training.
Oh my gosh.
When I first stepped into the Cincinnati VA Medical Center. And what was it, in the 80s? Anyone coming out of the military at that time period, in that time period, would tell you that and tell you more. The attitude there was almost godlike amongst the workers. You know, it's kind of like, why are you here? You know, what do you want?
Really? Our
being-
tax-paying money. Okay.
Yes, and being a black female, the attitude was, you don't even exist.
Ah,
So they would ignore you. And when you finally got their attention, they were just as demeaning to you as they were to the male GIs. Unfortunately, with that kind of attitude, a lot of women who had experienced sexual traumas and horrific situations wouldn't come in the first place, or if they came, they would be so mistreated they would not come back again.
so when you bring up the subject, and I have to because I know women are raped in the military.
Yes, ma'am.
I know, and they raped by their fellow members,
Yes.
higher ranking. They're raped, and then they're
Yes.
silenced. And so, is that what you're talking about? Because that's trauma.
Exactly.
Rape is. I mean,
it's unimaginable. No, I wasn't raped physically. They raped me mentally and emotionally.
okay.
When I was telling you about going to sick call, when I would come back to my shop, they said, "Oh, what'd they find out? Were you pregnant? What? You on your period?" So, and all of the fellas in the shop, I was the only woman at this time in the shop, and they just make jokes about that. And in the meantime, I'm in torment. I am really hurting and trying to uphold my position as a soldier. So I came in every day and did my job, and that didn't seem to mean anything. They thought it was funny.
So let's kind of move
And
forward.
I've heard stories.
I
I've
mean,
heard
I
stories
know.
of
God.
sexual trauma. It's amazing that these women, they are remarkable. Because I just, I just thinking about that, I just don't know if I would survive that, or if I could continue living after that. They need tremendous help and compassion and
Yes.
love and
The level of
sensitivity.
betrayal.
But it wasn't available. It was not available. And the director of the vet center here and I were talking the other day, and she was saying that there were so many claims that were filed by these women And they were required by the military to provide evidence.
Evidence?
Evidence. And their claims were denied because they could not provide evidence. And she told me also, she said, the policies didn't say that you had to provide evidence in the first place.
What kind of evidence, Jennifer?
And they didn't have to provide it in the first place.
Come on.
So, that was an automatic denial. You don't have evidence. So, that leaves you desperate. That leaves you out there. You have no support from the military where this happened to you. Many women go ahead and stay in the service even after that kind of torment and trauma. So they're suffering PTSD on the job every day. For years sometimes.
So let's move this conversation to right now and how you got involved. Tell me about the organization that's a part of the Veterans Administration that you're involved in, and give me some history on that.
Okay. It's part of the Department of Veteran Affairs, and it is the Vet Center, Cincinnati Vet Center. And I told you I was led there by my Vietnam combat ex-husband.
Okay.
To get some help for myself, because he wasn't, well, in fact, the first contact I had was with him. I talked him into getting marital counseling, which is one of the services they offer. So we went once or twice. That was the end of that. But I went back, and I was just talking to the director, Cher Rontinelli. That I signed up individually in 1997.
1997.
I had no idea until she told me that.
You have been involved with this organization since
the Vet Center.
The Vet Center. Tell me, what do they do? What kept you there?
Well, it was a wonderful support, because as you know, veterans really have to have some kind of connection with other veterans, because that experience is so different from civilian life that many times civilians just cannot relate. In the group that I'm in, we meet each week. There would be 6 up to 10 people, male and female, and some of the things that these vets share, I tell you, I'm left speechless and in tears, because many of them, most of them, that's why we're in PTSD group, and this is an African American PTSD group. So we're dealing with the fact that we're African American in this country, and that we were also soldiers protecting, supporting, uplifting this same country that presses us down, that oppresses us. So we have many things to talk about that veterans of other cultures just really don't understand. They cannot connect to it. And that's why these veterans, male and female, are here, because particularly the combat vets were saying they just really couldn't understand what they went through. And they would share, and people would either look at them like, that can't be right. No, I don't believe you. Surely that didn't happen. And they don't need the judgment. They don't need the judgment. They need compassion. They need a place where you have to get this stuff out of you. You know, my pastor says we are human and divine, and we have to take care of both aspects. And when you have undergone, for example, one of the veterans in our group, I won't use names, I didn't get permission to, but one of the veterans in our group was honored and awarded because he got wounded in combat, and he went and helped to safety 5 or 6 other soldiers.
Okay.
Now, when he talks about that, it's almost like we're there. His
Wow.
emotion, his movements, I mean, he is mentally there. And so we're all quiet and we listen, we pay attention, and he can feel the support
Mm-hmm.
and the love we
And the
have for him,
love. The
and he's
love.
able to go through that. And he would, and that, the freedom that we give each of us is he can talk about that as many times as he wants. In fact, with the last time he shared it, we were all saying it with him.
I know
This is
you.
what happened on this date, and I did this, and and it's not for folly or anything like that, but it's because we understand. We know where you are,
Ah,
brother. We know where you're at, and
so
it's okay.
so let me ask you this. Do you give me a background? Is this service available in other cities or other areas?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was talking to Cher, the director here in Cincinnati, about, and I'll give you her information too, about the history of the vet center. And all these years that I've been going, I didn't realize that back in the 90s, a bunch of veterans, black and white, were noticing how vets are being treated once they got home. They didn't have any support systems.
Mm,
Even in the 70s, when I got out of the service, there was nobody to tell me what I needed to do. I mean, I went from military one day to civilian the next day, and I wasn't sure how to get a job or what how to translate my military AFSC military code, job code, into civilian skills. So I needed somebody, though I had college education, I needed somebody to help me with the resume and interviewing and all of those things. That was not available. So
okay.
finding jobs, we weren't told that we could apply for unemployment.
Oh, wow.
There was no support, no transition from military to civilian life to help us get started. None of that was available. So these veterans, a lot of these veterans, she said, became therapists.
Oh, my goodness.
They saw so many veterans hurting that they wanted to help. They really understood what they were going through. So a lot of them became therapists, and so they kicked up such a fuss that the vet center was started.
Good,
And she said they
good,
started out with
good.
about 80 around the country.
Okay.
Now there are 300 vet centers in this country. They're usually in big cities, but I have the information. You want me to give it now, or you want me to
Yeah,
wait?
go on it. No, give it now for those of you that are viewing and that have family members who need support, who are ex-military. She's going to give you contact information right now, and you want to get a pencil and write that down. Okay, Jennifer.
Okay, this is the Vet Center, VET Center. And to find a vet center, here's a website, www.va.gov/find-locations. And then if you're like me, you'd be looking for the phone number before you look for the website. But you can call 24/7, anytime, day or night. This is the Vet Center Call Center. 877-927-8387.
Can you say it again? Say it again.
877-927-8387. Anywhere in the country, you can call these numbers, use these websites, and then while I'm on it, my heart is always touched when I talk about these combat vets, male and female now, because I didn't have to go through combat training. That was the next group. The group I missed became combat training for women. So we have female combat vets as well as male. So I was asking her again about the latest suicide rate amongst veterans. And she said it used to be 22 a day. But thank God it has dropped to about 17 a day.
17 suicides a
A
day
day. Every day.
is considered better, of course, in
Veterans, every
20
day.
every day. A
Every day,
veteran
male or
just
female.
throws it up.
And it's gone down.
Jennifer, this is unacceptable.
It is.
No, no.
But I have a Veterans Crisis Line number. If you or someone you know is in crisis or having thoughts of suicide, call 1-800-273-8255. It says and press 1, or you can text 838-255. Or you can chat online at https://www.veteranscrisisline, that's VETERANSCrisisline.net/chat. Now, they also, in some cities, they have mobile vet centers.
Mobile vet centers?
They also offer virtual appointments. And all of these things are accessible to anyone serving in the military. And I wanted to say real quick about some of the, well, let me give you shares. Share at the local Cincinnati Vet Center can be reached at 513-763-3500. And the phone will be answered anytime, day or night. So you don't have to look and see, what time it is and if you can get somebody. You will get somebody 24/7. Some of the things that we do, we have counseling, of course. Individual, we have groups, not just our group, we have other groups. We have families, couples, individual counseling. And the other thing that comes up, I think, sometimes when we think about veterans, one of the first things that comes to my mind is the Veterans VA Medical Center.
Yes.
And it's important for you to know that the Vet Center is an independent entity from VAMC, from the medical center, from VA Hospital. It's separate. And they keep separate records. They don't exchange record information, your medical records. They don't do that. The director is the only person who has access to both agencies' medical records and information.
So they honor privacy.
Yes.
I like that.
Confidentiality, absolutely.
I like that.
You have to have that in order to be able to rid yourself of some of this human stuff, the bitterness,
yes,
the anger, the frustration, the sadness, just the torment that a lot of these veterans, men and women, are experiencing. And unfortunately, it's still happening now. One of the other reasons for having vet centers be independent of the VA hospital is because, unfortunately, the treatment that VA hospitals used to administer to vets, a lot of them are still resentful about it and will not go to VA hospital under any circumstances.
Okay.
So the vet center is an option. It is not a part of VAMC. You can go there. There are all kinds of groups. And you know what, they're pretty current too, because they have a mindfulness group.
Oh my goodness.
A meditation group, Vietnam group, outdoor running and rucking, I don't know what that is. But anyway, they have a yoga movement group. They have a Tai Chi group.
Yes.
Vision Fitness. They have post 9/11. veterans group, the female veteran group, All Women, is coming soon. We haven't quite started that yet, but that's coming
Okay.
soon. And a drumming group, which is absolutely fascinating. In fact, they perform.
Oh my
You know,
words, with the
yeah, yeah,
drums.
and it's men and women. Yeah, they perform around the city.
Oh my gosh, because truthfully, Jennifer, when I see those men and women marching,
Yes,
the cadence, the
yes.
discipline,
Precision.
the
Right.
precision,
Hmm.
it just does something to me. I mean, I know
Feel
that
pride.
it makes me
Yes,
feel so honored. But my
yes.
concern, we've got a few minutes left. I can't believe time has really moved that quickly. It has.
Well, let me
Um,
share one other thing with you real quick.
okay, would you?
There's a veterans benefit specialist
Okay,
that comes to this vet center here in Cincinnati on Tuesdays and is walk-in. And what he will do is help you file claims and answer questions and just kind of go over your military background with you.
okay.
This, no charge, incidentally, there's no charge for any services
That
at the
is,
vet
that
center.
is, which
It is all
means no
free.
excuse, which also
Right,
means no
right. We don't want
excuse.
you to
Yeah.
have any excuses. The way I see it, and I am a disabled veteran. I received compensation. In fact, I fought like mad for it. I applied. I think I was turned down 3 times.
Uh-huh. That
One of the
seems
things
to
that
be
we
the
do at the vet center in all our groups is we encourage you to go back. Do not give up.
right.
And it was 3 times, but it came through. And
Good.
the reason that I did 3 times was because I attend this group weekly. They're like family to me.
Right.
And whenever it was denied, they say, look, don't worry about it. What you need? What can we do? And
See,
the vet center.
love
And so
that.
I said, okay. And every time you look a little sad or, if you're willing to share in there, and we get pretty personal because we're comfortable, we feel supported.
Yes.
And when you feel sad and aggravated, or we have some groups, some folks in our groups, our PTSD group, who have some pretty serious issues. And when they get upset, things start to happen.
Oh, my
So
words.
it's a place where they can come and say, look, I wanted to tear up or shoot up or whatever. And they can release that in there. And we work with them and we encourage them. We have a telephone list for anybody who wants to be on it, so you can call people and talk to them throughout the week. We have community kinds of programs. They'll have an open house once or twice a year
Yes.
where the community just comes on in to see who is this group over here. We always see all these folks going in and out. What is this all about? We have, and the other thing about the therapists is in Cincinnati, all of the therapists happen to be veterans,
Oh,
male and
wonderful.
female. And at the
Okay.
vet centers, most of the workers are, the staff, the therapists, the counselors are veterans. Because you remember I told you that's
Perfect.
where it got started?
Yep, yep,
Those
yep.
therapists who got mad about how veterans were being treated. And so, and I have to say, you have an opportunity to share how you feel. And we're straight. We allow you to do that. If you're angry, you say it. And you express yourself in the way you need to. But we're respectful of one another. We are non-judgmental. We are caring. And we are veterans.
I love it.
And
I love
we
it.
know
I
who
love
we
it.
are.
I-
We know
we-
who we are.
Well, our time has run out, Jennifer.
Okay?
I need you to give me a closing remark, a closing statement, and I want to suggest to all of my viewers, was this not incredible? This is so much needed, and the help is there. Finally,
Yes.
the help,
Yes.
the mental help, the
Yes.
the resources are there. Concluding remark before we sign off, Jennifer?
Yes, I would say to you, don't let there be any shame in your game. There is no disrespect or anything negative about asking for help. I am so grateful that the help is available.
Thank you.
I have a wonderful life today, and I credit a lot of it to the support, counseling, advice, support that I received through the military and through the Vet Center of Cincinnati.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for
You're
being
welcome.
on my show. For those of you that are listening in, avail yourself. You know how I am about information. Avail yourself of this. This is real. This is truth. And I
Yes.
thank you all for being a part of my world on the VA Center National, over 300 and growing. And again, God bless you richly. You take care of yourself. And I will talk with you at another time. It's been wonderful. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.